Good afternoon, live from Toronto on the GBCam network. This is the Chat Up Show, the show where we catch you up with the chat up of our weekly headlines. I'm your host, Elizabeth Eloidy, and I hope that you are ready to chat it up with me today. Now, as always, you know you can keep up with the GBCam network in various ways. You can listen and watch live 24/7 at www.gbkm.tv or www.gbkm.fm, where you can also catch up on any past shows you may have missed, check out our upcoming show schedule for the week, learn more about our on-air personalities, get our breaking news, and get some merchandise. You can also download our free app that is available to all iOS and Android devices right now. Again, it is our free GBKM app. You get all of the features available on our web station, such as watching any past shows you may have missed, listening and watching live 24/7. You can like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But the best part about it is you will get a notification every single time we go live, so you won't have to miss a show again. So make sure you download the free GBCam app right now so you don't miss another show on the GBCam network. As well as watching us on our web station, you can continue to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at GBCam Network, where as always you can join in the conversation by commenting, liking, and sharing with your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at GBCam Network, where you can get some more updates about what's going on right here at the GBCam Network. Now, with that being said, this month especially, but this year we're celebrating a great year for a certain special state in our heart right here at the GBCam Network. 30 years ago this month in 1991, Edos State was formed from the northern portion of the Bendel State and the southern portion becoming Delta State. And we have the Edo that we know and love today that has brought us so many, just like our very own Kenny Baz right here at the GBCam Network. Now, before this new formation in 1963, the citizens of the territory had voted to separate from what was then the Western region, and the Midwest region was created. This is a little bit of a history lesson for those who aren't aware of how Edo became to be. So then this Midwestern state became the Midwestern state following the federal reorganization in 1967, from a second reorganization in 1976 until its division in 91, and it was named Bendel State. So this month, especially for Edos in Nigeria and across the diaspora, we're celebrating 30 years. Edo State at 30, woo! And joining us today is one of the key players in the diaspora and voices of Edos across the globe. You might remember her as the author of My Father's Daughter, humanitarian and global goodwill ambassador, and even more. Today, being part of the group and the lead of the group, who has been able to work as a working group for Edo State diasporas and the committee in charge of Edo State at 30. So please welcome back to the Chat Up Show, Dr. Loretta Oduare Ogoro Okor. Welcome back.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much. It's good to be here once more. Thank you to GBKM and the entire crew, yourself, and everything you do. Thank you.
And thank you. How does it feel to receive the official recognition of the work that you're doing, especially celebrating Edo State at 30 today?
I think the lesson here is we should all keep focused. We should all work hard, and someday the work will speak for itself.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about Edo at 30. How, first of all, how do you feel to be celebrating your home state at 30 years of its formation officially?
Every day as human beings, every single one of us, there's someone's birthday happening. I have friends who have pets. Sometimes they are
Yeah.
celebrating the pet birthdays, their dog's birthday, their cat's birthday. How much more? How much more a state being 30 years old officially, mark you, Edo State has been there as an offshoot of the old Benin Empire, which hundreds of years ago was busy doing business and trade with the Portuguese. And if the colonials came and sacked our kingdom, And then we became Midwest, the only federated region created in Nigeria. And then we became Bendel, and now we are celebrating our uproot from the Bendel aspect till now. I think it's worth celebrating.
Yeah.
It's worth saying kudos. The challenges have been there, but more importantly is the fact that despite the challenges, we are still forging on. You know, we have not only remained within the geographical confines of Edo State, but we have spilled across the world and are making great impact. So we are worth celebrating. We are worth it.
Yeah. I mean, just to continue off of that, some may say, why not wait until I do at 50? Why celebrate 30 years? What's so significant about the 30 for you personally?
Today they say tomorrow you are not sure.
Mm-hmm.
There is that saying. And I believe that there's a parable. If you permit me, I will speak my language at this point.
Yeah.
After all, it's all about the great Edo
Yeah.
State now. And the Great Benin Kingdom media, like you said, is an offshoot of this heritage. There's a parable where I come from that says, Egenaya Yore, oh yeah. That means whenever you wake up is your morning.
Mm.
Scientifically put, anytime you get insight means you begin to value yourself. You know your shortcomings, you know your strength. You are prepared to push your narrative. Anytime you get that insight, either as a human being, as a group, or as a state, that is your morning. And that is when you should start pushing from and not stop. So it is worth pushing. It doesn't matter the digits.
Mm-hmm.
The digits are there as maybe figurative. The important thing is that we are now awoke as the citizens of Edo State across the world. And we've decided to take pushing our narrative as a state, pushing the narrative of our governance, pushing the narrative of our progressive governor, and pushing the narrative of the great people. We've taken it into our hands. And it's not stopping, because if you look at the website created, it says Edo at 30 plus. So well beyond. So Liz, 30 is just like that landmark, that figurative expression. The most important thing is that we are celebrating us.
Mm-hmm. So celebrations are going to be happening across this month, but of course until the end of the year, because it's still 2021, right? But how exactly will you be celebrating?
Well, unfortunately, currently, with the surge of the Delta variant of COVID, um, the states, the home state itself, um, is not happy about it, but they have to tone down the celebrations because they really, really care for the citizens and health first. So they are launching an extended phase of the COVID program, i.e., the awareness and the vaccines, and they are expecting this to take proper root as well. So they are sort of moving the actual big fanfare in the States till November.
Mm-hmm.
However, those of us in the diaspora are fortunate in that technology is our friend, and a lot of our countries have lifted their bans to extent. So, what did we do? The states, led by the progressive governor of the state, um, Governor Godwin Noyase Obaseki, actually inaugurated a committee in the state to look at the affairs of bringing these celebrations to fruition. And they reached out to the diaspora. And the diaspora is very happy that we want to push our narrative. Therefore, we keyed in. We keyed in with many online activities and many live venue activities. And the plan is that starting from August, and we have started, we will keep celebrating, bringing out things, events that will build up to the 27th of August and on to November as a crescendo and even way beyond. So the things we've organized thus far are essay writing
Mm-hmm.
competitions. We have pidgin English poetry competitions. We do have science innovation
Mm-hmm.
competitions. We have Thanksgiving services, because where there is no God, the people do not prosper. Thanksgiving services for the relevant religions. We have from Westminster Abbey to Scotland. We have some in London. We're having some in America, Houston, Texas. We're having them all across the world. Japan, we're having in Australia. You name it. Edo people are celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a number of fashion shows lined up. Please, there is no
Mm.
harm in us showcasing
Yes.
our native attire in Canada. And there is already a group working on that.
Mm-hmm.
We have Edo Food Fest. There's a group working on that. And we have the Ibota. I mean, it's like our evening folklore story time. There are people working on that.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to have webinars across board, and there are people working on that. Interestingly, the diaspora were very forward thinking. So they have created a website that will transcend this 30 years celebration. And everything everyone is doing in their own locale will be infused into this website so that you, Liz, can go to Japan, check what they are doing. My children yet unborn can see that link tomorrow
Yeah.
and click on it and see what's going on. So, in fairness, I think Edo State people are beginning to blaze the trail in terms of taking their story into their hands and changing any negative narrative the entire world had about them.
Mm.
And they are using this celebration as that platform.
Now, you mentioned certain events and initiatives that are going to be happening across the rest of this year until about November. And there's one in particular that is calling for people to solve a problem in Edo State. And one thing that is quite attention catching is the fact that it's available to all ages. Why is that so significant, especially opening it up age wise?
Um, what happened is that there are a team
Mm-hmm.
of great minds that span over 50 countries working on these projects. And they came together. Sometimes I just watch them and I'm like, oh my God, Edo State is so blessed. These are eggheads. They came together and said, our state has got challenges.
Mm-hmm.
How do we help? And then somebody said, we can only help when we seek ideas. And someone said, okay, let's seek ideas from the people. Let's put an innovation challenge and let's get people to bring their ideas. And then somebody said, you have to seek these ideas from the people who are the future. And who are these people? These people are the youths. But then there are those who have experience from the past, and you cannot underrate the power of experience. So people said, you know what? There is no need to put an age limit on this. Let's open it to the future. After all, part of your logo is saying we are building, we are rebuilding Edo State, we are rebuilding our future. We are working from the past and we are building our future. So people just thought, do not limit this. Keep it flexible. Innovations, ideas, they are like art. They do not have age limits. They do not have, you can't confine them in a box. And this is one of the best parts of these challenges for me. The fact that it is not age limited is very, very important. So we're expecting a lot of entries from the youths as well for this.
Yeah.
And these are the things that gave rise to it. It's actually led by the academic arm of this diaspora group. And that arm is led by Ken Oloye of Bendel Schools. And he's supported by a number of people, Osasere in the US, Gloria as well in the US, Olame, a number of people. Dr. Tony Agbons is there as well. So it's it's made up of people who have carefully thought this through.
Yeah. And especially just bringing up that the youth is the future. And that's a conversation that's been happening, especially recently with the Nigerian community at large following the NSTARS protests that went on began last fall. That a lot of people say that these are the people that are going to carry on the legacies. You know, if we don't look to the youth to see what it is that can help make our futures brighter, then what are we really doing it for at the end of the day? Would you agree?
Yes, we need to look to our youth. We need to look to our future. The children born today, the Generation Z, they are our future. You know, sometimes, Liz, I'm doing something on the system and I'm having problems. And what do? I call my son, I call my daughter, I'm like, come and fix this for me. And bingo, like magic, it's done. I'm like, how did you do it? And they start laughing, Mommy, you're a boomer. I said, no, in England, boomer means you're old. I said, no, I'm not old. Can you teach me? And then they teach me. So sometimes I have problems even at work and I go to them and they tell me, Mom, why don't you do it this way? We should not underestimate the power of our youth. We should not also eat the legacies of our youth. Because I think that has been the bane of the governance in African countries, that they do things for the now and they think only about the next election. They do not think of the legacies they need to leave on ground for the next generation. And that is why you find that we seem to be stuck in time. I mean, with apologies, but that's the truth. We just seem to be stuck in time. So if we want to move, it's time to say, let us take the oars into our own hands. I mean, you see the way they engage with technology during the last Edo State election. It was clear that the people of Edo State are now awoke. They want to go to the next step, and they can't do this without their youth. The NSAS, like you said, showed us that. So we are capitalizing on what we now know, and we are using this platform of Edo State at 30 in the diaspora to take our narrative to the next level. Not many states are blessed to have a governor like we have, who is very technology and business savvy and understands the strengths of the diaspora. So there is no need for us to have this opportunity and let it go to waste. So let's get our youth on board and let's move Edo State forward, Edo to the world.
Yes. On that note, we're going to take a really quick commercial break, and when we're back, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Loretta. Stay tuned.
Edo State will be 30 years old on the 27th of August 2021. Ours is a land with an enduring monarchy of global acclaim. It is a land filled with distinguished sons and daughters defining and holding their own in all spheres of human endeavor, both at home and in the diaspora. We are a people of confidence and excellence, steeped in values, culture, courage, respect, and measured wisdom. Let us celebrate our Edo-ness. God bless Edo State.
Do you want to be your own boss and make income or extra income with flexible schedule? Welcome to Keenan Courier. Keenan Courier works as a marketplace platform connecting customers who need something delivered with drivers that are willing to serve them. Courier with any vehicle, better trip allocation, and cash out your earnings whenever you want. Download our driver apps today to sign up.
Hello and welcome back to the Chat Up Show. I'm your host, Elizabeth Eloidy, and today we're talking about Edo at 30. Edo State, our true love right here at GVKM Network, is celebrating 30 years, and we're joined today by the lead of the Edo State Diaspora Working Group, the committee in charge of this grand celebration of Edo State at 30, and of course our own Kenny Baz, who's also part of the committee too. So please join me. Welcome back, Dr. Loretta. So before we went on the break, we were discussing how, the youth are the future and how it's important we consider them when making decisions and solving problems that will benefit the future rather than just the near future. But the main question is, how can folks who are living in the diaspora, who aren't actively living within the communities that are looking for this change, looking for this brighter future, how much impact can diasporans really make on these changes?
Over time, it has become evident that when people want change, they go to work themselves and they find a way as a team to effect that change. Now, there are people who are everywhere in the diaspora from Edo State, in every single country, name it, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, everywhere, Luxembourg, Malta, just name it. What they all have in common is their heritage and the love for their country. They all still have relatives back home. They now have two things, a third more than when they were at home. One is financial liberation, which is, you can call economic liberation. And two is a liberation of the mind. Because whether we like it or not, traveling is a part of education. Now, what do? They are now sort of training the trainers. What does that mean? They have gone out, they have seen it, they have done that. They now know how to run a proper economy and they know how things can work. So they are now going to take this back home and train the trainers. How do you do that? Because sometimes you come home and there's a lot of resistance. But then they can do that subtly, first and foremost, via two channels. One, the individual routes, and two, formal group routes. So the individual routes, we all give money to our fathers, our mothers, our sisters, brothers, and cousins at home. We all finance weddings. Someone even complained the other day that we keep financing burials. Now, whether you like it or not, he or she who pays the piper dictates the tune. So what are we saying? We are going to now use this position of leverage to try and educate those around us. For instance, the other day, somebody told me, please, ma, could you send me money for my wedding? And I asked him, how many guests do you have at your wedding? He said, 650. I said, why? Why? For a one-day event, you have 650 people. What is the lifelong marriage going to be? Will those people know whether you eat after the wedding? I said, look, you need a bit of enlightenment. And I went to work. Now, this is my own brother. Okay, I went to work and I said, look, when I got married, there were 30 people there. When I even traveled out, I began to realize that money that can be spent on other people to make their lives better should not be. Don't get me wrong, I love our culture. I am fiercely and proudly Edo State. But there are certain things we need to harmonize, some sort of cultural integration. And I said, you won't go and borrow because you want to do a ceremony. And I did that bit of training and that bit of enlightenment. Whether we like it or not, these are ways in which we influence our people. These are ways we influence our own family. And it begins to spread out. So this is on the individual part. On the group part is where some of us decide to come together as a group. We have investments, we have money to take down, and we find the most credible and government accredited route to make our investments into our own home place. But something must first bring us together, and that is the advantage of this kind of celebrations. From working together, I now know GBKM, I now know Oberland TV, I now know the Comrade Show, I know Nekme Obasoge. We now do things together and we begin to siphon. Yes, I will use that word without apologies. Siphon it back home. Because we've given our best to these communities and we should be ready to take something back home. So we can do that as a group and we can do as individuals. And then we can do as partnerships between governments. Some of us are very influential in the countries that are our host countries. We can begin to create bilateral pathways or even multilateral pathways where projects can be done to better the lives of people on either side. Because people keep thinking that there's nothing to export from Edo State to maybe Canada or the UK, for instance. That's not true. There is a lot to export. For instance, even in the field of medicine, there are certain skills that some of us here are not using that often anymore. And when you are teaching them, it becomes difficult. A case in time is let me take in obstetrics and gynecology, something like hysterectomies. I believe that if a trainee from here were to go to Nigeria and spend just 3 months, they will be quicker skilled at doing open hysterectomies than they will be spending 6 months to 1 year in the UK. So we can arrange these kind of things. And whereas for laparoscopy, you may then come out here and learn that faster. So imagine if I said 2 or 3 students from trainee doctors from UBTH every year to come to a hospital in England, while England sends their own back to us in Edo State. So there are 1,001 ways that we here in the diaspora can influence whatever is happening at home. And we saw it play out in the last election. You see, when a people begin to raise their brain power by whatever means, get ready for a snowballing of development in those communities. We've seen India do it. We've seen Singapore do it. Nothing is stopping us in Edo State from doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the hope and the goal, is that one day we get to a point where it's symbiotic for both ends, for those in the diaspora working together with those at home to try and really bridge the gap that a lot of us often feel. For some people, when they leave home, that's it. They're done. And they've cut off that communication. It's like, this is the new life that I'm building here. But if we're gonna, as you say, have this time where have this reality where the diaspora can work together with those at home, that we don't completely cut off our lives or our hopes, because for so long they haven't come to realization. I mean, it's 30 years now we're celebrating Edo State, but even just Nigeria's independence at large, if we're going to look at the grand scope of things, we're such a large group in the diaspora. Why do you think it takes so long for us to finally come together and say, hey, let's do this work? Because clearly there's some benefit in it. Clearly it's going to bring positivity and growth on both ends. Why are we as Nigerians and even as Edolites, I'm going to claim as an Edolite today, taking so long to finally see that bigger picture and understand that just because we're not living at home doesn't mean we can't make these changes and have an impact on the growth of our country and our states and our homes?
I think this is one of the most pertinent questions you've asked me this evening. Why does it take that long? Or why has it taken that long for us as Nigerians, Edo State people, to come together and utilize the power of our diaspora? The simple reason is our lack of teamwork and shared vision. You see, in the past 1 year, 1 to 2 years, I have come across great minds, men and women, but there's something we share in common, and that is a common vision and a common goal. If you like, call us like mind. Let me give you an example. An example is that currently I'm working with diasporans from different countries. You have Kenny Bazoye from Canada. You have Yusuf Abubakar from Australia. Peter Imalenowa as well from Australia. Hubert from Australia. You have Henry Bakari from Italy. And Johnson Odibo, we have that man from Switzerland. Lucky Omosibo from Italy. And we have Tony Agbons in the UK, and we have Lamteoria in the UK as well. Beverly Issa Ejedawe from America. And Angela Asoma Brime from America. In Japan, we have people like John Ologoshere, and we have Pastor Jimon, and even Simple Boy Azenabo. But you see, calling these names, there's something that brought us together. What was it? It was a like mind. It was a vision. And there are many more, many names I cannot mention. But there's something we share. We share that vision. Now, importantly, despite sharing that vision, there was something that it took for us to start working together. And that was the understanding that my weakness can be buffered by somebody else. So if Loretta doesn't have people skills, but she has the ability to do the heavy lifting, like one of my friends would say, to get the job done, then Liz has got people skills. It simply means that Liz will fill my deficiency, and then I will do what I'm good at. And together, all of us will harness our strengths. The moment we are not able to have that team spirit, the moment we are not able to pull together like a broom, then we cannot sweep away our challenges. And for as long as it takes us to realize this, that is how long it will take us to wallow in the dark. And that is why, as Nigerians, you will see professors doing well in their corner. You will see the one who came on foot via the Moroccan desert, and those who swam the Mediterranean, and they are looking at themselves with a lot of suspicion, no teamwork. Just imagine, I learned from my Asian brothers and sisters. I learned something from them, and that is that they will take the hand. You know, the one who is up there will stoop down and take the hand of the one who is down here, and together they all move. And we can see what they've achieved. So unless and until we change our mindset and begin to work as a team and not competitors against each other, then it's going to take a long time for us to get to our promised land. But suffice it to say that there is a new crop of Edo State people. There's a new dawn. From those in Benin speaking area to the Esan people, Afema people, Owan people, all of them, I'm amazed how they have all come together with their own time, finance, and resources to put at the feet of the state, propagate and harness the strength of his state diaspora. So Liz, henceforth, I'm telling you that those state people have learned from the mistakes of the past, and they will have a few lessons to also teach the greater Nigerian populace.
And yeah, just to piggy off that, you know, it usually takes like one person or one group to rise up, and the others see what can be done and follow suit. So hopefully this is the beginning of us all coming together and being our brothers and sisters keepers and holding each other accountable for greatness.
Translated, what you just said is that a tree does not make a forest, but a tree can start a forest.
Oh, we love these proverbs today. Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
it's Edo State, you know.
Yeah.
The home of proverbs.
Now, speaking of accountability, a lot of the times when we're thinking of change, our first thought is political, to really start the snowball effect of other forms of change. Because if we have someone who listens to the people in charge, chances are the people's needs will be met. Now, you mentioned how impactful the Edo diaspora was in the recent elections this past year. And in that, speaking about how important it is for us in the diaspora to hold our leaders accountable, how much would you say that was important for this impact to take shape and actually move things forward for Edo State?
I always say that leadership and its effectiveness is directly proportional to the engagement of followership. So when there is no followership to hold leadership accountable, then leadership runs amok. And if you are not first a good follower, you cannot be a good leader. So what's happening now is that the diaspora is a very exposed part of any population whatsoever, any country. Their diaspora is a very, very exposed part of that population. And they understand how to hold people accountable for their actions. So you have a sensitized arm of your leadership, of your followership. So if as a leader, you do not realize that, then you may run into problems because they are the ones who, I said it before, they hold the economic whip, okay? So, and they know the right questions to ask, but more importantly, they know the right channels to go through. So what do I mean? You will not find them doing aluta, throwing stones, or being unruly, but they do understand the power of correspondence. They know the due procedures and where to ask. So they are going to engage and they are going to ask and say, why is this not done? However, I have often told people that if you do not earn your place at the table, you are not going, if you do not partake in the preparation of the meal and earn your place at the table, you are not going to be able to ask why there is not enough salt or pepper. So what that means is, as the diaspora, if we were not engaging with our state's governance, it doesn't really actually matter who the governor is. People should begin to think of processes, institutions, and that's why I like the current governor of Edo State, and he stresses it. Begin to think of institutions. If you do not engage with governance, it doesn't have to be only Governor Godwin Noyelasel-Obaseki. The next governor, the next one, the next one. If you don't engage with them, then you will not have that, you will not have earned your place at the table. You know, my friend Dr. Angela Asom said that you will not have earned your place at the table for you to query and say, oh, please, in a very nice way. You interrogate processes. You don't need to be antagonistic to them. Oh, please, why is XYZ not what it should be? Or why is there no water here? Why is it not running? Or why are these roads not done? And then you proffer solutions as well. You don't just come and castigate without any solutions. You must be constructive in your criticism. And it is only an awoken followership that can do that.
Yeah.
So this is something that the diaspora of any country, and now Edo State is taking the lead in particular, can do. You don't just go and keep asking, what have you done? As a diaspora, what formal thing have you done for your state? Have you earned that place at the table?
So now I propose this question to you. What can you do?
What we
For
can
someone like me, for example, I've left Nigeria since I was 1 year old. A lot of people don't even claim that I'm Nigerian a lot of the time. So what can we do? In history lessons, I wasn't taught my history. So of course I have to go out and find it for myself. But what is the real incentive for diasporans to actively put up their resources to help?
The real incentive is their desire to see their state as good, or their country as good as their host country where they now are, so that they can propagate their own narrative for their own generation yet unborn. And Liz, I think you are making a mistake. You just asked, what can I do? I don't know what to do. I was born at 1 and I left. Do you know that what you are doing right now, interviewing me and pushing the narrative of your country and that of Edo State by proxy, do you know that that is one great act? You see, sometimes this is where we make the mistake. We think we have to have that $10 billion. We need to go and do one magical big project. No, not necessarily. You don't have to start from there. Start from your own niche. I'll give an example. My husband trained in England as a neurosurgeon. And a time came, he said, you know what? When I finish this neurosurgery, as I promised myself before I left Nigeria, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go and change that landscape in terms of healthcare. And people used to say, how would you do it? You have no equipment, you have nothing. But he kept at it. And the most fascinating thing is, he met another colleague, an older colleague, a colleague who I think actually trained him as well, like his teacher. And he told that colleague, he said, you know what? When I finish, I'm going back home to Nigeria. And I'm going to try and make a change in the healthcare space. Guess what? That colleague was at a time in his life where he was applying for 10 million consultant posts in the UK and nobody was giving it to him. You know what? He packed his load and he went to Nigeria. And today you cannot mention neurosurgery in Nigeria without mentioning that man's name. So what am I saying? Just inspiring, just speaking to that man made him put his acts together. You don't know who is listening to us today. So you are doing massive work in your own space, okay? And like I said before, I described the different levels of engagement. There are diaspora people very willing to engage. There are even people who are not even from Nigeria who said they've gone to do their DNAs. So what I'm talking about, they were born entirely in these foreign countries, and they are Black or Afro-Caribbean. And they've done DNAs and found, oh, Nigeria is in my DNA. And they've moved over to Nigeria. Yes, I've seen them.
Yep.
So, but we need to realize that everybody doesn't need to go home. Some can go, but everybody mustn't go home. We still need that bridge. We need those here to bridge the gap and do what would benefit those who have even gone back home. You know, I look at people like GBKM and I marvel at the work they do. They are bridging the Canadian community with their home front without making noise about it. In a very subtle way, they are bridging the gap. There are many of us. Are you a teacher? Are you a doctor? Are you? I had someone recently in the building industry. What did he do? He said when he went to Nigeria, he realized that the buildings, that when you open the door, it would click. The finishing wasn't sleek. What did he do? He took himself back to Nigeria and opened a company. Today he's doing work for multi-million dollar companies in Nigeria. I also know one, anti-furniture. Same thing. These people we just need more. There's something in everyone that everyone can give. We may not all be giving it at the same time. We may not all even come to the realization at the same time, and that's okay. But anytime you wake, anytime you wake is your morning, and just decide today, what can I do? Is it to recently? Let me give you an example. Recently, a university student was publicized as having returned a missing wallet, despite the thousands of naira inside, and despite the fact that that chap had not paid his school fees and was from a very indigent background. What happened? Someone in London picked up his phone and contacted me as the Uniben alumni lead in the United Kingdom. Contacted me and said, how can I give this boy pocket money every month just to celebrate his excellence? And we organized it. And every semester now, he's going to be giving that boy some very significant amount of money. Guess what? He has just reinforced excellence in his home state, but he hasn't had to go back home. He didn't make that trip back home. So there are 1,001 ways we can contribute, Liz. It is just for us to, first of all, decide now we want to contribute.
And would you say that the passion is enough to hopefully then see that change come to be?
No, passion is not enough, but passion is a huge part of it, about 50% of it. I told you how right now we are working with a team of great minds, men and women. So action is needed. You need to translate that passion into action that will move you from point A to point B. You know, you need to apply that energy to a distance. In science, that's what it's called, isn't it? You need to apply it. If I want to move this mobile phone and I'm just there thinking, okay, I want to move this mobile phone, and I'm thinking about it, I do nothing about it, that mobile phone is not going to move. But the moment I say, Liz, how do you think I can move this mobile phone? and Liz comes and says, oh, maybe we should pull it together, push it here and push it there. So we must take action. Passion is important, very important, because on those days when you want to give up, on those days when you are tired, on those days when you are pushing and it's not moving, passion will sustain you. But you then need to, first of all, take action as well. When action fails you, passion sustains you until the next bout of energy to continue action. But passion alone is not going to do it.
Yeah. And on that note, Governor Godwin Obaseki, who, you know, his reelection was quite monumental for the diaspora community here who have been involved in that. Now, he has a 30-year plan, speaking of action, for the development of Edo State, the Benin City Regional Plan, and the Edo State 30 Years Economic Development Plan. What do you think about this course of action that he's displayed and is hoping to display?
People may not know, but Godwin Obaseki, our governor of Edo State, is a team player. You know, His Excellency actually got great minds together to draw up that plan and make it a masterpiece. He didn't just sit down in his office in the State House and put that together. You know, he got minds together and they were working. And you see, this is part of the problem. When all those people were working and drawing up this plan, people were saying, oh, there's no work done. There's no work done. But what they didn't realize is that for you to create institutions, you must plan. For you to build a skyscraper, there's a foundation almost as high as that skyscraper you are seeing above the ground, also under the ground, to sustain it. So what does that mean? That means for a man to plan a 30-year strategic pathway, it simply means that he's thinking of the next generation. It simply means he's not thinking about himself. It simply means he understands that beyond him, there is going to be an Edo State. He is planning for the children yet unborn. He's planning for his children's children. And that is the way developed countries work. Once there is a master plan, once there is a pathway, there are guidelines, then people are able to work within the remit of those guidelines. And that is when you are able to break the shackles of our bane, which is strong men. And that is when you have institutions, because you have a set path you need to follow. If you are not following it, people then ask, why is XYZ not done? So you are not just going to come tomorrow and say, oh, I'm tired of this project. I'm the new governor now. I want to create this. No, there's a 30-year plan. That 30-year plan needs to be followed. So, I mean, this is one way of actually moving not just the state, but the entire country forward. And this is something that African countries need to learn from. I think we need to understand that governance is beyond one man. It's a thing of the people. However, led by a designated and elected ruler. And I don't like using the word ruler, leader. Okay, because ruler is different, you know. So he has sat down, you know. Our governor has sat down and thought, what can I put in place that will befit my people? How can I create institutions that work? How can I leave legacies? He's thinking about the future. In summary, in one sentence, that is a man who truly cares for human capacity building, who is thinking about his people, not just his stomach, not just his pocket, but for now, way beyond the future. He wants to make sure that Edo State takes her rightful place in the scheme of things in the global stage.
Yeah. And even a 30-year plan, it's usually a 4-year plan that we'll get until the next re-election, and then it's like a reevaluation. But as you said, this goes beyond him. This is for the future generations, and it's a plan that, you know, you can hold the leaders that come after him accountable too, because if we have the steps and even us in the diaspora are aware of these steps, that too can help helping holding them accountable to achieve these goals. So for you, before we let you go, what is your dream for Edo State in the next 30 years?
Well, at this point, I will quote the words of one of my big sisters, Evangelist Gladys Osamuime Ogbeidi. She says, Urukbosa Baredone. That simply means that the light of God is shining already in Edo State. Even if you are a Muslim, the light of Allah is shining already in Edo State. If you are believing in traditional religion, the light of whatever you serve is shining already in Edo State. Whatever you serve that is positive, not negative things. So what does that mean for me? What that means for me is that I see an Edo State where every one of us takes our little light and together we let it shine. You remember that song? This little light of mine, I am gonna let it shine. That is what I see for every single one of us in Edo State, whether in the diaspora or within the state. And I really want us to use this 30 years celebration as a healing process that brings all of us together. And then we master the act of teamwork. We actually desist from crab-like behavior and we begin to let our light shine. It shines way beyond us and shines to our generations yet unborn. That is my vision for Edo State, an Edo State where our true humanity, our shared humanity, our collective humanity is the true religion.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Loretta. And again, celebrating Edo at 30, excited for this celebration, excited for what's to come in the future. Edo at 30 plus, because there's always more to come by the grace of God. Thank you again for joining us, and congratulations on the official inauguration of the committee celebrating Edo at 30.
Oh yes, you mean the steering committee for the establishment of the Diaspora Agency. Yes, we have our state governor and his team to thank for that, for taking the lead to actually harness the strengths of Edo State Diaspora. Thank you very much, Governor Godwin Noerase Obaseki of Edo State. Thank you, and kudos to you and your team.
Yes. And before you go, just to give everyone a chance to know how they can keep up with the festivities as well for this year.
Oh yes, first of all, we've got our hashtags. Hashtag Edo State Diaspora 30 plus. Anybody who is from Edo State, friend of Edo State, we are begging you, we are appealing, put on your favorite Edo State outfit and use that hashtag on your social media handle. Or you could abbreviate it to Edo State Diaspora, ESD 30 plus as the hashtag. Then we've got our website. I don't know if you can let that strip run. We've got our website. It's www.edostate30 Edo State Diaspora 30 plus, but it's abbreviated, so it is ESD 30 plus.org. Yes, we also have our Facebook page, we have our Instagram handles, we have our Twitter. We just type in Edo State Diaspora 30 plus, and I'm sure you'll see all of these things churning up. If you so much as have any issues, you can contact me or contact GBKM. My name is, as it is there on the screen now, is my Facebook name. And of course, you can send us emails at info@esd.org, I think. I'm not sure, but
I'm getting word it's ESD at 30.
Thank you.
.org.
That's it. info@ESDR30. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Yes, that's it. So we have all these things on the electronic space, and I'm sure somebody will be there. It doesn't have to be me. Like I said, it's all teamwork. Great men and women are working behind the scenes. Somebody will surely be there to pick up your questions and answer them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again. And here's to Edo at 30. Yes.
Thank you very much.
And with that, that concludes today's Chat Up Show. As you know, as always, you can keep up with the GBKM network by listening and watching live 24/7 at www.gbkm.tv or www.gbkm.fm. Make sure you download our free GBKM app available to all iOS and Android devices today, so you can get all the same features on our website as you will on the app, and you get notified every time we go live. Make sure to continue supporting us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at GBKM Network. And you can follow me, your host, Elizabeth Aloidi, on Twitter and Instagram at TIS_Liz_O for more Chat Up updates. And with that, I will chat with you the same time, same place next week. Take care.
Edos State will be 30 years old on the 27th of August 2021. Ours is a land with an enduring monarchy of global acclaim. It is a land filled with distinguished sons and daughters defining and holding their own in all spheres of human endeavor, both at home and in the diaspora. We are a people of confidence and excellence, steeped in values, culture, courage, respect, and measured wisdom. Let us celebrate our Edo-ness.
Good afternoon, live from Toronto on the GBKM network. This is the Chat Up Show, the show where we catch you up with the chat up of our weekly headlines. I'm your host, Elizabeth Aloidi, and I hope that you are ready to chat it up with me today. Now, as always, you know you can keep up with the GBKM network in various ways. You can listen and watch live 24/7 at www.gbkm.tv or www.gbkm.fm, where you can also catch up on any past shows you may have missed, check out our upcoming show schedule for the week, learn more about our on-air personalities, get our breaking news, and get some merchandise. You can also download our free app that is available to all iOS and Android devices right now. Again, it is our free GBKM app. You get all of the features available on our web station,